Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's EarthEcho STEMExplore virtual field trip, Skylines from the Ground Up, featuring Marissa Wyrick from Society of Women Engineers in Austin, Texas. My name is Casey Gaylord-Opaleski, and I am the STEMExplore coordinator for EarthEcho International. And we're so excited to have students joining us from all over the globe as we're learning about amazing STEM careers. Now, this live event is part of STEMExplore, EarthEcho's newest program that is taking inspiration to access by telling the stories of dynamic women in STEM professions during live virtual field trips, just like this one. We're excited to bring STEMExplore to life thanks to support from our founding sponsor, United Technologies. You can explore a number of STEM careers as well as tune in for upcoming live events like this one at EarthEcho's STEMExplore website, STEMExplore.org. I'd like to recognize and thank STEMExplore's 5 partner sites across the country, such as Boys and Girls Club of Santa Clarita Valley, Youth Power 365, YWCA Hartford Region, Love a Sea Turtle, and MEC Ed. Now, I especially want to say a big hello and recognize those sites that are joining us live tonight. So I'm going to hop over to North Carolina, to Charlotte, North Carolina, to our friends at MEC Ed. So MEC Ed, how is everyone doing this evening?
Hey. Oh, wait, there you go, sorry. Do it again.
Wonderful to see you. Excellent. Wonderful to have you all. Now we're going to travel over to our partners with Youth Power 365. First, let's say hello to Miss Kenny's class in Gypsum, Colorado.
What's
Wonderful to have you all. Thanks for joining us. Now, Miss Caruso's class in Eagle, Colorado. How are you all doing today? Wonderful to see you all. Lastly, let's say hello to our partners with Boys and Girls Club of Santa Clarita Valley in Santa Clarita, California. First, let's make a stop at the Sierra Vista Clubhouse. How are you all doing? Wonderful to see you tonight, ladies. All right, let's head on over across town in Santa Clarita to the Newhall Clubhouse. Hello, Newhall.
Hello, Newhall.
Hi. Wonderful to see everyone.
Hi.
Now, we just also want to remind you all that you all tuning in can participate as well, and we want you to participate. So if you are watching live on YouTube or on STEMExplore.org, you can chat us your questions. If you're watching on YouTube, simply use the chat space, which is either to the right of your viewing window or directly below your video. If you're on STEMExplore.org, simply click on Submit Questions that you see at the top of your viewer. Now, we'll be monitoring those spaces, so feel free to post questions now or at any point during this live event, and we will be answering questions throughout the event, as well as we've set aside some extra time at the end for some Q&A. So please go ahead and post those questions if you have them. Now, I'd also like to introduce a co-host tonight. Joining us all the way from Melbourne, Australia, Haley Charlton Howard. Hello, Haley.
Hey, Casey. Great to be here. So my name is Haley, and I'm currently in Melbourne at the moment. And I am a member of EarthEcho International's Youth Leadership Council, and I'm here to help co-host tonight's event.
Excellent. Haley, can you remind everybody of what date and time it is and what season you're in Australia?
So currently I am living in the future. It is 10:34 on the 7th of December. And it's currently summer, and it's a currently very sweltering hot day. So a bit far removed from what I hear some of you are experiencing in winter at the moment.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Haley. We're so excited to have you. So Haley will be jumping on and she'll be helping me co-host this event. So now that we have all of our housekeeping finished, let's get this program started. Now, I would like to introduce our special guest tonight, our STEMExplore mentor, Marissa Wyrick. Marissa is in Austin, Texas. Hello, Marissa. How are you?
Hi, guys. I'm doing great.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us, Marissa. What's it like in Austin right now? What's the weather like?
It's dark right now. It's 5:30, I believe, my time. But you know, with the time change, I always forget what it's called. The daylight savings.
Daylight savings. You got it.
pretty dark
Gets
outside.
dark very early. I agree with that. It kind of throws us off.
Mhm.
Great, Haley. Marissa, we're so excited to have you with us for this STEMExplore virtual field trip. So why don't we get things started, Marissa, and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I grew up on a small family ranch. I say small, on a family ranch in Helotes, Texas, which is a small town just northwest of San Antonio. So it's a lot bigger now, but back when I was growing up, it was tiny. Like, we had one stoplight and you would easily pass the town if you were driving by. So my family has been in the Helotes, San Antonio area since the 1730s. That's actually before Texas was a part of the United States, back when it was still part of Mexico. So we've been there for a while. I am the 6th generation to actually live on this ranch. So growing up, myself and my cousins, we all learned all of the family lineage. It was something that was kind of drilled into your heads at a very early age. And we always we were brought up to, go to school, obviously, finish school, and then go work for a family member somewhere on or near the ranch. That was kind of a tradition. So I went to the same elementary, in the town there's one elementary school, and that's the same elementary school that I went to, that my siblings went to, that my cousins went to, that my father went to, and that my grandfather went to. So that's just an idea of how small this town was. We all went to the same elementary school. And it wasn't really big for you to leave this town. So I grew up learning the family business. My parents actually owned a steel fabricating company. So I grew up in the construction side of business, I guess, different from what I do now. But sorry, got ahead of myself. But I developed a love for the art of creating something that you can actually see, touch, feel, and go inside of at a really early age. When my parents were building our family home when I was in 4th grade, I just loved the whole idea of it, like this raw concrete and timber and like these tiny little screws were all coming together and building a home. Like, this is where we were going to live, and I just thought it was the most amazing thing ever. That all of these tiny things were just coming together and creating something. So I knew at an early age I wanted to go into STEM. And then when I was in 4th grade, somebody actually taught me a new word, and that word was engineer. And it stuck with me. I just thought it was the coolest thing. So I was like, oh, I'm totally going to be an engineer when I grow up. So some of my early pets were actually cows and goats and just farm animals. And I could actually drive a tractor before I could drive a car. So that's kind of an idea of the ranch life that I had prior to, leaving Helotes and venturing out. So when I was in middle school, I actually I found out about this program called PREP, and it stood for Pre-Freshman Engineering Program. And what it was is they would take middle school and high schoolers, and over the summer they would attend college classes, college engineering and STEM classes. So I jumped at this idea. I was super excited to go to college when I was in middle school. And a lot of the classes that I took at these colleges formed the foundation of what I do today. So I took problem solving, I took basic physics, a lot of material classes, and I actually got to see college campuses. So I spent 3 summers in this program. While in the program, I attended UTSA, the University of Texas at San Antonio. I attended Incarnate Word University, and then I also went to St. Mary's University over the span of 3 summers. And I learned a lot. So these 2 bottom pictures on this slide are me one of them's me with my group in middle school, and the other one's just this really cool experiment that we were doing one of the days in class. And I actually enjoyed my time at prep so much that I went back when I was in college and actually became a prep mentor. So the top picture is my group when I was a mentor. And as you can see, the groups have grown a lot from, the 10-year span between when I was a student and then when I was a mentor. So STEM definitely is an expanding field.
Excellent. So after prep, where did you go then?
Yeah, so my senior year came around, and I just started applying for all of these scholarships. Every scholarship I qualified for, I applied to, just because I knew that I wanted to go to college. For one, I wanted to study engineering, and I wanted to get into a good engineering school. So at least in Texas, you have to attend an ABET accredited school to become a professional engineer. And that's not that they're too difficult to get into, but I knew it was something where I couldn't just go to any university. So I got accepted to a few different places, and talking with my family, you know, my parents and I just decided that it'd be best if I went to UTSA. So that's why I ended up attending. I'm a road runner. So while at UTSA, I heard all of this like hubbub about joining student organizations. Like, you have to join a student organization, you got to make those connections. And I would definitely agree. I think joining student organizations in college is really important, but you have to find the right one. So while I was at UTSA, I actually joined a different student organization every year until I found one that really fit me, my personality, and my needs. So there's a train right outside, so I'm sorry for the honking. So my senior year, I actually stumbled across the Society of Women Engineers, which is the organization that I ended up sticking with through the remainder of college and actually into my professional life. And it just fit me. It was what I was looking for. I was looking for a female mentor, somebody who had gone through everything I went through, you know, somebody who understood that, okay, I'm commuting 45 minutes to school, I'm dating, and I am still trying to be a female in a mostly male job field. So it helped to have that older woman, I say older, that other woman who had already been where I had been in my life, to just tell me like, hey, it's okay, I struggled through that too. And I still have mentors. Like, I'm through with college, I've been in the professional field for a few years now, and I still have mentors for those next few steps of my life, of my career. So it definitely helps. I highly recommend it. Also, so my first day kind of walking into the Society of Women Engineers meeting was the first day that they were looking for a leader for the trebuchet contest. So it's an annual contest that the university holds, and it's called Monster Mash Pumpkin Smash. So I kind of walked in and volunteered to be the team leader. Figured with my background in engineering and everything that it'd be a walk in the park. It was actually far from that. The picture on your, I guess, my left is a small group, and that was actually the first group that we had for the competition on year one. And we spent day and night slaving over this design, and we thought it just the world of it. And then competition day came, and we actually broke it completely on accident, and it was kind of discouraging. But we figured we'll come back next year, we'll do it better, we'll do it bigger, and we did. So the middle picture is actually our second attempt, year two. We redid our design, we got a bigger group, got more volunteers, we gave ourselves plenty of time for testing, and we actually placed second that year. And I actually brought a really cool video for y'all to see of the second place winning shot from this trebuchet contest. So while I was in SWE, I actually made a lot of connections. Not only were we just throwing pumpkins across parking lots, we were actually attending like national conferences where we got to meet a whole bunch of other professionals in STEM fields, and we got to kind of talk to them on a more personal level. They would intermingle us with during dinners and lunches and stuff. So they would actually sit student, professional, student, professional. So we were kind of forced to come out of our shell and to talk to other people, which I really appreciate now, because I made a lot of connections and I met a lot of people, and those meaningful connections I've actually carried with me, and I still talk to some of them. And some of them are actually part of the professional section in San Antonio that we just started about 2 years ago. So it's new. And I was actually able to start that section because of all the connections that I had made when I was a student. So that was really fun. What? So there. When I was a junior in college, I actually started looking into getting an internship. I had heard that, you need to get an internship and it's super important, which it is, I will agree. But a lot of times it's really difficult to get internships as a junior in college. And that's just because people are looking for experience. They're looking for certain skills. Like, I had no AutoCAD skills. I had never been on a construction site. There were certain classes I hadn't taken. And it was kind of discouraging getting turned down from all of these big companies. So actually, one of the mentors that I had through SWE introduced me to another professor who had kind of like a fellowship. And I was able to work in his lab for a semester, working on a team, in a team for a, hold on, jumping ahead of myself. So I worked on a 3-person team to develop a robotic arm using a haptic program. So this robotic arm was kind of had to do with engineering, not so much, but really what I took away from this was that I was working in a team, and I had to really sharpen my communication skills with that team. So the pictures in front of you are actually from, well, not from my internship, they're current, but when my current job, I work on a team as well. My team consists of a designer, a project manager, myself, an E.I.T, and then a project engineer. So we kind of all worked together to build all of our, the skylines of Texas, basically. So we get together and each of us kind of has their own little role that they play. And I mean, we couldn't do it without one another. So teamwork is definitely a big thing in engineering and communication.
Excellent. All right, that was such a great overview of your background. I think it's amazing that your family has lived on the same ranch since, you said 1730, correct? Mm-hmm. That is incredible. And I love that you found a love of engineering by you realized you like to put things together, you like to build things, and you found those connections, and that you found a way to foster those connections at a really young age. So that is pretty incredible. So what I want to do right now, Marissa, is let's have a little break for questions. So again, those of you viewing on any of our streams on STEMExplore.org or on YouTube, simply use the chat spaces. And what we're going to do is we're going to kind of do a round robin of all of our partner sites that we have connected with us. And so we are going to start off with our friends at MEC Ed in Charlotte, North Carolina. So we're going to take about 2 questions from each site. And if we have more time, we'll add in more questions. But we will come to questions at the end again as well. So again, if you're watching on YouTube, we're monitoring that live chat and can feed those questions to Marissa as well. So MEC Ed in Charlotte, North Carolina, what questions do you have for Marissa?
So some of our young ladies would like to know, what is your schedule like? How many hours a week do you have to work? And what's the average salary for someone in your position?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So when I was an intern, I'm not sure if it's a state law, but when I was interning, I had to actually stay under 30 hours. And that's, I'm not really sure why. That was just kind of the rule. When I was interning, I had to stay under 30 hours. And I think that really helped because I was balancing work and school. And with school being my priority, I never hit 30 hours, so it was never really an issue. But in professional, as a professional, I have to hit 40 hours, which my company actually does 9 hours Monday through Thursday, and then we get half-day Fridays. Which I love because I can like take off after lunch on Fridays. And And then putting in that extra hour during the week isn't really that big of a deal. I can come in an hour earlier, leave an hour later, or maybe even work through my lunch if I don't want to stay a little later or come in earlier. So my hours are pretty flexible, but they stay around 40. Unless I have a deadline, then maybe 45, but not much more than that. We do, I think we do a really good job of scheduling projects and deadlines so that we don't have to cram. And then I believe the average salary for a civil engineer, a professional civil engineer, is about $75,000. And that's just depending on where you live and the cost of living.
Excellent. Great questions. MEC Ed, do you have another question for Marissa?
They would like to know what's your favorite project. What's been your favorite project that you've worked on so far?
Oh my goodness. So I do have this one project that just is so close to my heart. So my grandmother, obviously my whole family grew up in San Antonio. My grandmother, there was a drive-in theater that she remembers going to with my grandfather when they were dating. And it was called the Mission Theater. And it had closed down, it was run down, it was a mess. And whoever, some developer bought it, and they actually came to us and we were asked to kind of revive it. So we didn't do much new construction other than like bathrooms and just some nice buildings in the background, but we still had to keep the majority of the parking lot available for cars to come in. So we actually created an old-fashioned movie theater with the original screen and everything. And I actually got to take my grandmother there. So I thought that was really, really fun.
Awesome. Thank you. What a great story. Here I thought you were going to go into pumpkin smashing, and your answer was even better than that. Great. Great questions, MEC Ed. We'll come back to you in a few minutes. Let's head over to Colorado here in the States with Youth Power 365. We're going to make a stop at Miss Kinney's class in Gypsum, Colorado. What questions do you have for Marissa?
All right, today we have a simple question. Is your job fun?
I mean, I might be a little biased just because I absolutely love my job. I'm probably one of the few people who can say that I enjoy coming to work. I do something different every day. One day I'm building a skyscraper and the next day I'm building a school or a restaurant. So it's always different. I'm never doing the same thing. And I actually really enjoy what I do. I love coming to work.
Excellent. Do we have another question with Miss Kinney's class?
You have SOGMA.
I'm sorry, I guess not right now.
Okay, great. Thank you. We're going to head over to Ms. Caruso's class in Eagle, Colorado, also with Youth Power 365. What questions do you have for Marissa?
Can you hear me?
We can now, yes.
Okay. What's the last project you worked on?
Excellent.
Yeah, that's a good question. So currently I am working on a 16-story building in the middle of downtown Austin. It's an odd project, but I'm super excited about it, and I can't wait to get it fulfilled and see it standing there in the skyline.
Nice.
Excellent. Do we have another question with Ms. Caruso's class in Eagle, Colorado?
No, we don't.
Okay, great. We'll come back to you. Excellent. Now we're going to head over to California with the Boys and Girls Club of Santa Clarita Valley. And let's start with the Sierra Vista Clubhouse. What questions do you have for Marissa?
Yeah, go ahead next.
What was the hardest thing you ever built?
The hardest thing, oh goodness. I feel like every project kind of has its challenges. I know there has not been a project that I have had, at least, where everything is just run smoothly. That's kind of part of being an engineer, is you are a problem solver. The hardest thing though, oh goodness. I can't land on just one. I feel like every project we've had is just, you always have those hiccups. You kind of have to plan for unexpected things to happen, to pop up. And then you've got to just try to figure out how to fix them in the best way possible.
Excellent. All right. Sierra Vista Clubhouse, do you have another question for Marissa?
Yeah, we do.
If you weren't an engineer, what would you be doing now?
Oh my goodness. Honestly, I think I would be a teacher. I have found, so when I was actually in college, I was a tutor at the local high school. I was a physics tutor, and I loved it. Like, I just love working with students and encouraging them, and obviously I love physics. So I would probably be a teacher. I think they have a great job.
Excellent. I agree with that as well. All right, Sierra Vista, great questions. We will come back to you in just a bit, but let's hop across town in Santa Clarita, California to the Newhall Clubhouse. Newhall, what questions do you have?
During your journey through getting where you are now, was it really hard at some times, or did you lose like confidence or steam when you had so many companies turning you down and like you didn't have as much support from the companies because no one would take you a lot?
Yeah, definitely. So sorry, I'm getting an echo. So when I've had a lot of failures in my life, and I am not ashamed to say that. College actually took me an extra semester because there was some classes that I just didn't pass on the first try. So there's a lot of times when I was discouraged, and when I felt like maybe I'm just not meant to be an engineer. And I was so close to throwing my hands up and just walking away and being done with it. But I have a really good, strong support base. My family has always been really supportive. My siblings, my husband, who is actually my high school boyfriend, went to UTSA with me and is now my husband. He's been one of my biggest supporters and a huge attribute to my success. And my friends, the friends that I made at UTSA became my best friends because they understood me. They were going through the exact same thing I was going through. And I wouldn't have made it without their support and their encouragement and them telling me, like, it's okay. You know, you didn't make it, but people have not made it before. Like, I'm not the first person to fail. I'm not going to be the last person to fail. And I've just tried to really remember that every time I've had a disappointment.
Excellent. That was a really great question. All right, Newhall, do we have another question for Marissa?
Yeah, we do. Oh, wait, what? All right, there you go.
How would you describe most of the projects that you do? Like, do you work mainly for the environment? Do you mainly work for the city?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So a lot of the projects I do are kind of a combination. I work for the city. I work for the utility providers. I work for a client, obviously a developer. And then I also do try to work for the environment. I'm not, ethically, I'm not going to build something that is going to harm the environment. And the city has a lot of checks and balances that really helps with that. So we have like a tree mitigation program where if you remove a tree, you have to replace that many inches of a tree. And if you add in impervious cover, which is like asphalt or concrete, you actually have to make up for that somehow by planting grass in another area. So a lot of the things that we do are environmentally friendly, and that's just a combination of regulations and our own ethic responsibility. And of course, the developers, they want something beautiful and natural, and they want to attract people. They don't want some big concrete jungle. So a lot of the stuff we do is environmentally friendly.
Excellent. All right, we do have a question coming in from YouTube, and the question is, do you ever get bored of the projects you're working on?
I do. and I hope none of my clients are watching this, I have gotten bored before. I think it's just natural when you are spending a few days working on something and you're just trying and either it's not working or you've just trial and error, I guess. A lot of engineering is trial and error. And sometimes I don't really get, not necessarily bored, but I do get frustrated sometimes. And I think it's only natural. But I mean, you got to push through it and you've got to figure out a way because you're an engineer and you're a problem solver and that's what you do.
Great. Thank you, Marissa. Great questions, great answers. So those of you watching on YouTube, you can still submit questions. We're going to come back for another Q&A. We're going to kind of wrap up Marissa's story. And Marissa, I want you to maybe tell us a little bit about what you're currently doing, the direction that you see going, and any other words of wisdom, although you've given us a lot of really great advice.
Yeah. So currently, I mean, I'm a civil engineer. I work for Big Red Dog Engineering. I've worked here for about 5 years now, going on 5 years, sorry. We do land development. So that is everything a lot of the stuff that we do is underground, so you don't necessarily see it. But for instance, the storm inlets that you see on the sides of roads that are just collecting all of the rainwater. We've designed the system underneath the road, underneath the ground that collects that and takes it to a river or some kind of outfall structure. We also do a lot of rain gardens or rainwater harvesting where we collect rainwater and then it gets filtered and reused for irrigation or stuff like that. We do a lot of utility design, everything basically up to the face of the building is what a civil engineer designs. And then, totally forgot where I was going with this. Words of encouragement. So, I mean, like I stated before, you can't get discouraged. You can't let one failure stop you from achieving, what you want to do, whether it's engineering or any other STEM field. I've had a lot of failures, and I'm okay with saying that because every failure that I've had and every kind of roadblock that I've hit, I've had to figure out a way to overcome that. And I feel like that made me better and that made me stronger. And even though I didn't accomplish something on my first try, I accomplished it on my second or my third. And you just can't stop. You have to keep going because you're going to get there. It may take you the scenic route, but you're going to get there. You're going to get to your destination and you can't give up.
That is awesome advice. I think, a lot of folks are a little afraid to talk about failure. And I love how you just say that is part of the journey and just keep trying and you're going to learn something from those failures. I know scientists who an experiment they thought was going in one direction completely failed, but it took them in a completely different direction and they made wonderful discoveries with that. So I love that advice coming from you and your story is just so compelling and so inspiring. So with that said, I do want to check back in with our interactive sites again for any questions to kind of wrap things up today for our virtual field trip. So to help me do this, I'm going to toss things over to Australia to our friend Haley. Haley is a member of our Youth Leadership Council here at EarthEcho, and she is going to field the questions from the partner site. So Haley, take it away.
Thanks, Casey. So as she said, I'm going to check in with the partner sites again. So first, let's just check in with MEC Edie in Charlotte, North Carolina. MEC Edie, do you have any questions for Marissa?
One of the questions is, do you operate any heavy machinery in your position?
I don't in my position, but there are civil engineers that do. There's my branch of civil engineering is more land development, but we do have, even in my own company, we have a construction branch that spends more time out in the field. And I don't know if they operate the heavy machinery, but they are out there kind of directing what to do. But growing up on a ranch, I can still operate some heavy machinery.
Thank you, Marissa. And MEC Ed, do we have any other questions?
No, that's all for us. Thank you.
No worries. Let's just check in with Youth Power 365 in Colorado. So Miss Kenny's class from Gibson, I think it is, Colorado. Do you have any questions for Marissa? Miss Kenny's class, can you hear us?
And it's a possibility that they have been dismissed, so we can, I'll look to the chat space, Haley, if you want to move forward with our other site with Youth Power 365.
No worries. So Miss Caruso's class in Eagle, do you have any questions for Marissa?
So are you, when you say you do land development, are you talking about landscaping type things, or the structural?
Yeah, that's a really good question. When I first heard about land development, I thought the exact same thing. I was like, okay, I'm going to be moving dirt. That is not at all what I do. There's a lot of aspects to what I do. So we design a lot of the roadways. So we will design like the streets and the sidewalks and your curbs. So believe it or not, there is a lot that goes into designing the street, sidewalk, and curb, just that section. There's a lot that goes into that. You have your slopes, you have your ADA routes, we design the ramps, we pick out exactly where the trees are placed based on certain codes. Anything that has to be, I guess, built for drainage purposes. So anytime you see those little like concrete swells, we design those. And we have to design them to a certain size. We can't just like pick any concrete swell. So it depends on how much water is going there, the slopes, and that there's calculations to figure out, I guess, how big it needs to be.
That's cool.
There's a few, I guess, like your water and your sewer, we do those designs as well. So we figure out how to get from the toilet out to the main public system in the road. So we design that. What else? Sometimes there are structures that we will design, but everything other than the building between the road and the building is what a civil engineer would take care of.
Thank you. That's all we have.
Thank you, Power 365. Those are really good questions. And Miss Kenny's class, if you can hear us and you have questions, feel free to just direct them to the chat and we'll come back to you. So now let's check in with our partners at the Boys and Girls Club of Santa Clarita Valley in Santa Clarita, California. So let's start with the Sierra Vista Clubhouse. Do you have any questions for Marissa?
We do.
What kind of projects are you looking forward to joining in the future?
That's a really good question. So I really want to build a skyscraper. I haven't done one yet, but that's kind of on my bucket list. That's something I really want to do. I feel like I've kind of dipped my toes in everything else. I've built subdivisions before. I've worked on multifamily, like apartment complexes I've worked on before. I've done schools. I've done hotels. I've done restaurants. I've done small like grocery stores or convenience stores. And I feel like a high rise is kind of my next step. So I'm hoping I'll get one soon.
Well, I mean, who doesn't want to design a skyscraper? That'd be super cool. Do you have any other questions for Marissa?
Yep.
Does your company work out of state or is it local?
It's a really good question. So we do have 5 offices in Texas. Those are our main offices, but we do have out-of-state work. So I know that we have a couple projects in New Mexico and in Arizona currently. I think we have some in Colorado. But so in the United States, when you get your engineering certification, which is your seal to stamp a set of plans, you have to have a certification for every state that you work in. So if you live in Texas and you work in Texas and you have a Texas seal, then you can't work outside of the state without first going to that state and asking them, hey, my credentials and my certifications for Texas, are they accepted? Are they also the same credentials that I need to work in whichever other state? And you have to get a license in every state that you work in. So we do have out-of-state work, but it's kind of limited to whichever engineers have multi-state licenses.
Awesome. Do we have any other questions here for Sierra Vista Clubhouse?
That's it from us on this end.
No worries. Now we'll just pop across town to the usual Clubhouse. Do you guys have any questions for Marissa?
What is your favorite part of your job and why?
My favorite part is definitely the end result. So I am struggling. I'm trying to figure out how to make this project work for months, even years sometimes. Coordinating with everybody, trying to get all of the puzzle pieces just to fit together perfectly. But that end result, when I actually see the building, when you walk up to it, you open those doors, you walk inside, you kind of do that initial spin and look around, and you just know, like, I was a part of this, like this building that I am standing in that is holding people, that is open to the public, that people are going to be coming in and out of without even a second thought. You helped create that, and I think that is my favorite part of engineering, just that little, like, secretly knowing that I was a part of that.
Thanks, everyone. We've just got some great questions. I apologise for my dogs barking in the background. The mailman just popped through. So I'm going to field you back over to Casey with one more question from YouTube.
All right, great. Let's head back to Newhall Clubhouse. Do we have another question at Santa Clarita Valley?
What's the difference between an engineer and a civil engineer?
No, civil engineer and architect.
Architect and civil engineer.
Yeah. So a civil engineer does everything from the building to the street, and they actually design the structural, and that's a really good question. They design the structural aspects of it, like the parts that are going to make it work. Sorry, the train is coming by again. And an architect, and I hope I say this correctly, and don't get a bunch of calls from architects tomorrow, but an architect focuses more on the design and the visual aspects of something, as well as, you know, making it work and everything like that. But when you see a building and it isn't an eyesore, I guess, you see a beautiful building, or you see the, like skyscrapers. When you see the glass and the way the glass reflects the sun, and you can see right through it, or you see a shadow, or just like those beautiful little aspects of what you see, that's what architects design, and that's what they come up with. More visual stuff, more artistic.
Excellent. That was a really good question. All right, Newhall, I want to check in with you one last time. Do you have one more question for Marissa?
We're good.
You're good. All right. Thank you so much. Everybody had great questions. We do have one more, Marissa, from YouTube. And the question is there any specific advice you would give to girls who want to pursue a career in engineering? And I think that's a great question to end on.
Yeah. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Just because there's not a lot of girls in engineering doesn't mean that you can't do it. It's hard, but it's hard for everybody. And just don't give up. Start early, start young, figure out, you know, if you don't know which part of engineering you want, or which aspect of engineering you want to go into, try them all, get your toes wet, figure out what you enjoy, what you like, and stick with it. Don't let, you know, one failure or even two failures deter you from getting to your ultimate goal.
Excellent. That is awesome advice. Great questions, everyone. That was really wonderful. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And of course, a big thank you to Marissa for joining us today. Now, I'd also like to thank our STEMExplore partner sites from across the United States, and especially those sites that were live and interactive with us today. And those include MEC Edie in Charlotte, North Carolina, Youth Power 365 in Vail, Colorado, and the Boys and Girls Club of Santa Clarita Valley in Santa Clarita, California. So great questions, everyone. And of course, another big thank you to Miss Haley, our co-host, who has joined us from the future and from Australia. So thank you so much, Haley. Wonderful having you. So again, I do want to thank you, Marissa. This was definitely inspiring and awesome. So EarthEcho has some exciting opportunities coming up. And one of those is a mini grant contest. Now, Expedition Water by Design explores the issues of water scarcity and drought through free, innovative resources. You can enter to win a $500 mini grant for your classroom or site by submitting your stories of students exploring engineering design around water resource management, or developing their own water conservation or restoration projects. So for more information about that mini grant contest, simply visit earthecho.org. You can see you have plenty of time to submit your application. Believe it or not, you can monitor the quality of water in your community with the EarthEcho Water Challenge. You can order test kits, submit your data, and learn more information by visiting monitorwater.org. And we're very excited to announce that coming in early 2019 is EarthEcho's newest expedition, Plastic Seas. Stay tuned to earthecho.org as we unveil free videos, lesson plans, and activities to educate students about plastic pollution in the ocean and innovative strategies to solve this global issue. And I'm happy to say that that expedition recently took place in Australia, and our co-host Haley was a part of it. So that is so fun. And last but not least, we are super excited to announce that due to popular demand, we will have an open Q&A session with many of the STEMExplore mentors that we have featured this fall. That event will take place this Saturday, December 8th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Join us to speak with these amazing women in STEM careers. Now, you can visit our website to register for this special event, and you can even submit your questions ahead of time there. So for more information and to register for some of these exciting virtual field trips, simply visit STEMExplore.org. You can click on the live events cabinet or the virtual field trips tab on the left. Again, of course, you can follow along EarthEcho and all of our adventures and our exciting programs with our social media channels and our websites. And thank you again to our wonderful STEMExplore mentor, Marissa Wyrick, and of course to our founding sponsor, United Technology. We could not do this program without your tremendous support. So on behalf of EarthEcho International, thank you again for joining us, and keep exploring.